All right. So today we're going to start off going over just a few of the subjects. I'll go through them. If for any reason we don't get through everything that's on the list for what I kind of anticipated for today, then we will definitely continue on and just move forward and start where we left off on the next call. These calls are intended to help you guys, and in turn, hopefully you can relay all this information to your teams. I know that it's difficult, and there's different ways we're relaying information. So what I've also done is created a document that kind of outlines what we're going to go over in each of these meetings. So you'll see it right here, and I've kind of gone through the basic instructions for what we're going over, and then I've added a link to the video. These videos are also on the LMS system, but I know sometimes people working from home may have issues logging into certain things. So just to keep it simple, I have put the links. These are YouTube, so they're open to everybody in the world, but it is the exact same video that's loaded into the LMS system, just a different way to access it in case you're doing a training and somebody wants to see it and they aren't able to get on due to network issues or whatever the case may be. So I've tried to make it, the topics that we're talking about on this call, with the instructions, some screenshots, as well as links to the video. So hopefully they'll help as you go back and try to train your teams as well. And everything that's included on that document is also in the manual. If you weren't aware, the manual got updated finally at the end of February. It went from, I think, 40 pages to now it's 90 plus pages. And I will likely be doing another update to that probably in the middle of April with some new things that most likely are related to more admin functions in terms of the updating community lot maps, things that may not apply to everybody, but I want to get those in there, as well as some more information around activities. So we're going to touch on activities later on in this call, and I'll mention more about kind of where we're going with activities in the future. But I know the first item on the list was lot transfers. So I will go over that. I'm going to do one quick thing that wasn't on the list that I get a lot of questions about. So I just wanted to quickly touch on kind of spec quotes versus regular quotes. So spec quotes can be known by a lot of different names. Designer homes, inventory homes, pipeline homes. I've heard them called multiple things. But in general, what it is, it's basically a quote that does not have a buyer on it, but it does have a plan, elevation, and possibly some options. Those spec quotes are created in a couple of different ways. The first and most common way is if you happen to be a pre-plotted division, meaning that you do not allow your buyers to choose the plan and elevation for the lot, it is determined in advance, then there will be a spec quote that calls out what is the plan and elevation assigned to that particular lot. The other reason would be a designer home, for example. If you're going to start building a home and it may not have a buyer on it, then you would create a spec quote straight from the Create Spec Quote button. The other ways that they're created is when a buyer cancels. So the reason we have to do that is because a buyer has already gone on, they've selected a plan and elevation, they may have picked some options, all that information has been sent to E1. So as far as all the other systems are concerned, that particular lot has a plan, elevation, and some options. So when the buyer cancels, a spec quote is automatically created that has all of that information already stored on it. Now, if that lot has not started and there is no lot commit start date, that is the very key date to all of these spec quotes, meaning nobody started building the lot, then you have the ability to click that revert to dirt button and just wipe it out clean. So if you know for a fact that you would like somebody to be able to resell that lot and pick their plan, elevation, and options, then go ahead and revert to the lot as soon as the cancellation is complete. You can hit revert to dirt and it will be cleared out and ready for the next person. The other way that those are created is with a lot transfer. And the reason being that's actually that in the system, it's a very, very similar process. When you do a lot transfer, you're basically canceling on the lot that they're transferring from, and they're creating a new quote on the one they're going to. So it will create a spec quote for whatever lot that they are transferring off of. And the same thing applies. If you want to wipe that slate clean, you need to hit the revert to dirt button because that sends something out to all the other systems, E1, Build Pro, everybody else, and says, all right, nothing is on this lot. We don't want the options on the lot. We don't want the plan and elevation on there. We want nothing. And so that will clean off the lot. So when you have a spec quote, what that means is if anybody tries to create a regular quote for a lot and it has a spec quote, it will copy all of the information that's on the spec quote, the plan, the elevation. If there are options, it will automatically put those options on there. And then it will not allow the user to change the plan and elevation because you've already sent all of that information over on a spec quote. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know by now most people have it down, but it's just something I wanted to mention because I do know that, there's been some confusion around spec quotes and when do I revert it and when do I not. So the main thing to keep in mind is that the reason for needing that revert to dirt and for a lot of these spec quotes being created when you're thinking, why in the world do I need a spec quote? Because it doesn't have a set plan and elevation and I canceled the lot. The spec quote is created because of the fact that in all of our other systems, E1, CMS, Build Pro, if you had a buyer, all that information was sent to all those systems and we need to clean them all up. So our revert to dirt button is basically taking care of that and just saying, wipe it clean, I want to start over again. So that's one of the main reasons that we need to have that button so that we make all of the systems line up and be in sync. Otherwise, we have a mess. So that being said, and just so you guys are aware, I don't normally, if we were face to face, I would say, interrupt me with questions, raise your hand, and we'll just, answer them as we go because we usually have a lot more time as well. In this case, to make sure I get through some of the main things, if there's time at the end, I'll open it up for questions. If not, please do not hesitate. Just send me a list of questions at the end of the call. And what I will do is I'll take everybody's questions. I'll answer them all in one email and respond. And that's usually helpful because a lot of times one of the questions somebody else has might be one that you have or will have in the future. So I just respond to everybody's questions on one email. And if you already know the answer, then great, you don't have to read it. But that can be helpful sometimes just to almost make a frequently asked questions page based on a bunch of different emails. So I will do that at the end. All right, so on to our lot transfer process. I've just picked a random lot here. I'm at Trilogy at Vistancia, and I've decided this buyer would like to move to a new lot within the community. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over and press my transfer lot button. Up comes the window with select lot. You must start typing in order to shorten this list. And I know that sometimes it appears extremely slow, and it somewhat is. It's nothing that's wrong with your computer or anything you're doing. So as you start typing, even though I've already pressed the 3, it does have a bit of a delay. So we all have a tendency to want to just click away and start moving. The more you type, the shorter the lot list gets, especially with active lifestyles. You have a lot more lots available at your community sometimes. So if you can type in the first 3, it'll definitely shorten the list and make it go a little faster. You can type your entire lot number if you want. But for instance, this one, I'm going to go ahead and select lot 3185 because I know it's an available one here. Once I click on the lot and select it, I hit save. And now it tells me with my green message that my lot transfer has been submitted successfully and takes me right into my documentation. In this particular screen, as you all are aware, you have the ability to add any attachments that need to be included in that lot transfer package if there were any. You can review, email, or send in person. I'm going to go ahead and send this in person because I'm going to cheat and automatically sign it so that we don't have to wait for my buyers. And the nice part about some of these videos as you're showing your teams is that because we have the ability to cut any of the time that it takes while you're watching it process, we cut that out so the video is a little bit shorter than watching my computer take a while. At this point, you'll always have the ability, if you want to view the PDFs, to take a look at them before you actually send them, you can. Otherwise, you click on Send to DocuSign button. And then it will automatically open what I call the preview screen, which basically just gives you a look at the document. This is where, depending on the division and the document and all of the other different variables, you may be inserting documents to this package to send. Typically that's done by a design studio where they need to add in a diagram of a countertop or something like that. This is the screen where you have that opportunity. And then also if you want to check tags for any reason, or you needed to add additional tags, you have the ability to do that in this screen before hitting send. If it's a document that you're comfortable with and you already know that it works every single time, most of the time people will just go ahead and hit send. And it will give you the option, I'm going to say sign later. And it takes me to the screen just showing me a little glimpse of it within my DocuSign account. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the quote. And now it's going to notice that I'm in the status of lot transfer pending. It's going to stay in that status until the buyers have signed the document. It does not have to be fully executed, but the buyers do have to sign it. Right now I have the undo lot transfer button. So if for any reason I start the process and they said, oh, you know what, I changed my mind, I really want to keep the lot I'm on, all you do is undo the lot transfer and nothing has happened. At this point, I'm going to go into this envelope and I'm going to pretend that the buyers have signed it. So this is a step that as I go through some of these, you will never actually need to do this. So again, ignore those steps. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to wipe out me doing that in person, but right now you'll notice that because the buyer just signed the document, which was I had it do, it says lot transfer signature complete. And now I need to press the complete lot transfer button. A very key point right here. You do not need to uncheck this as primary, because if you do that, the complete lot transfer button will disappear. So you still want to keep this as primary, because when you hit the button, it will take care of everything for you. If you uncheck it too soon, the button will disappear and you will not be able to complete your lot transfer. So now I'm going to hit the complete lot transfer button. It will tell me my lot transfer completed successfully. And a new quote is created. And when this new quote is created, it has my new lot number, 3185. Because that was not a spec quote of any kind, I do not have a plan, elevation, or swing. I will still need to go in and select that. It has automatically checked this as my new primary quote for me. And it will put you in lot hold completed status. And that's because legal has told us we do not need to redo the lot hold documents if they are transferring. So the other thing it will do, it will copy over any deposits that existed, any incentives, any financing. Of course, you have the ability to change these, but we've learned that for the most part, this doesn't change depending on what lot they go to. If they were contingent on the old lot, they're probably contingent on the new lot. If they had Shea Mortgage previously, they're probably still going to use Shea Mortgage. However, as I mentioned, you have the ability to change any of these before you send out the new contract. At this point, a very key thing, the options. We are not able to transfer options over, and that is because of the fact that we have plan and elevation specific options. So if I am switching from a plan that was a plan 2, and on lot 3185 I'm going to do a plan 3, I can't copy over the options because there may be options that exist for one and don't exist on the other, or they may be a different price, they might have a different option code. So unfortunately, the options cannot be cannot be brought over. So you will need to come into the configure home screen at that point and select your new plan and elevation for this particular lot. I am going to go with this one right here. Hit save. Go and get some coffee. And now I'm going to select my garage thing. There is the left, well, some people call it left, right, some say left and reverse, so whatever these mean to you. I will go ahead and select right. And at this point, if I needed to pick any of my options, I can go in and start doing that just as you would on a regular quote. I can go back to my quote. And now, once I've updated everything that I need to on this new one, then I do a send with DocuSign and proceed with generating a new contract for this lot. Unfortunately, we are not able to just transfer with one document and not generate a new contract. I tried that. But for legal reasons, we do need to generate an all new contract for this particular lot. So the lot hold document is not necessary, but you do need to generate a new contract. The other thing to point out on this, as I mentioned before, with the creation of a spec quote. So now if I look at this particular, my old lot, which was 3314, for one, it's canceled for me, which is great. You'll notice the primary is unchecked. So by leaving it and then hitting the button, it unchecks it for me. If I go into this particular lot, I'll see that I now have a spec quote. And that's because that is a copy of what whoever was on the lot 3314, a spec quote is created when I hit that button, just as if they had done a cancellation, because they had already selected some gas stub out options and things like that. So if for any reason I know that lot 3314 has not started, which I can tell by looking right here, here is my lot commit start date. It's blank. So if I do want to wipe this out completely and make it ready for the next person to come in and select a new plan and elevation, that's when I would hit the revert to dirt button. And it will delete this entire spec quote. And the next person that goes and selects lot 3314, they will be able to pick their own plan, their own elevation, and some additional options. However, if this lot had a commit start date and it had already started, you would hit the revert to dirt button and it would say pending. And then it requires somebody on the E1 team to intervene. And that's because they need to confirm that of these options that have been already ordered since the lot has started, if something's been paid, we don't want to allow you to just delete it, wipe it out, and then all of a sudden we end up with issues in E1. So that's the only time you might see pending revert to dirt. That means that the lot is started and you may have to have someone in E1 do some validation, and they already know the routine. They get an email that tells them they need to go in and take a look, and they'll either approve the revert to dirt or do some cleanup and contact you. That's not as common, but I just wanted to mention that in case it does happen. So that is the general lot transfer process. The most common mistakes I see are just people accidentally unchecking the primary box and then the blue button disappears, or wondering, about the spec quote and somebody trying to resell the lot and wondering why there's already a plan and elevation on there. So it's up to you guys. I know each community, each division handles the revert to dirt process differently. Some have one individual who does it for the entire region. Some have it. So I don't know, and I can't speak across the board. However, this is an instance where when a lot transfer is done, a lot of times you will want to review the spec quote and determine if you want to revert to dirt immediately so that the next person that selects it, it's ready to go for them. If not, if I select lot 3314, it is automatically going to give me the montage with the right garage swing and these options already included. So if that is the goal, then leave it and that will continue. All right. So that kind of concludes the lot transfer process. Does anybody have any quick questions that they want to bring up before I continue? Or, I mean, again, as I said, you can always email them afterwards, but any questions real quick? All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the cancel process. So the process that we never want to do.
Hey, Amy, sorry.
Okay.
Steve, sorry. Can you share with us where, in your experience, we typically go wrong during that process?
To be honest, I have not had many of these go wrong recently. In the very beginning, it was definitely, I would say, probably 70% of the mistakes were either one, unchecking the primary, which would end up waterfalling into a very bad effect because when you uncheck the primary, then you don't see the complete lot transfer button. So then the user would go in and create a new quote for whatever lot they were wanting to transfer to. And at that point, now you have a big discrepancy because you have not canceled for the lot that they were on. And so E1 shows this particular buyer as still being on the lot they meant to transfer off of, and then they get a new lot. So now the buyer has two lots instead of one, which E1 will allow, but obviously it's not correct. And then it also means that this lot that they were transferring off of, I had 3314, for example, is not available for anybody else because it's still considered to be held or sold because we never actually processed the entire lot transfer. So part of that lot transfer is canceling the previous lot. And if you do not hit that button, then nothing happens and it's just stuck in limbo. So that's when I would have to go in and manually kind of finagle some different things in the back end because you have a buyer that can only have one primary quote, so they've created a new quote and they're still tied to another one. So that's when I had to go in and fix them. And that's once that's done, it's really something that an admin will have to go in and clean up and make sure we send everything to E1 in the right order. Because unfortunately, that is another thing with E1 is it requests information only in certain order. So you cannot send a cancellation prior to sending a hold or something like that. So there's an order of operations, and when things aren't done in the right order, it will reject it and just send you error messages. And then, poor Carrie tries to run her reports Monday morning and nothing is coming out right. And that's part of the reason is that it will just reject everything related to that lot if it doesn't come in the right order. So pressing that button really it does a lot more than it looks like. It actually does about 12 different things behind the scenes that are very important. So that's why, making sure we keep that primary checked and hit that complete lock transfer button. And then in the very, very beginning, there was a lot of things wrong with the system. I'm not denying that at all. So obviously, we've cleaned up all that. So now the lot transfer process works 100% of the time, and we have a better understanding of what the importance is of a lot of these flags. So if there is other issues that people are having that I just haven't heard about, please let me know. But as far as the issues coming to me, I have not gotten nearly as many issues with lot transfers at all.
That's great. So it sounds like we don't have the frequency anymore, but it still sounds pretty critical because it just blows everything up
Yes,
if
it's
that happens.
definitely
Okay.
definitely a critical one to do it correctly. And so again, I encourage going through it and that video that's done. We made sure that it's pointed out very clearly a couple times to make sure you have that primary flag checked in the video as well, because that was a big issue. But the video, I think it's only 2.5 minutes. So it's a good one to watch, and it's easy and fast and skips through some of the stuff you have to watch me do because we have the ability to skip through the signing of the contract and things that happen that take time. So again, that's another one that we were fortunate we have a good video for it and the step-by-step instructions. So I think that's helped.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So now we will go on to the cancellations. I'm gonna just pick a different person here. Let's see. So there's two different types of cancellations. We have the cancellations with the refund and the cancellations without the refund. So the cancellations with the refund require a couple of extra steps as opposed to the cancellation without a refund. So I'm going to start with the more difficult one just because then the other one will go very quickly. So if I'm going to cancel this particular lot and I hit the cancel sale button, I'm going to have my cancellation reasons. And as you're aware, we have some additional reasons in here as well for the current situation. I'm just going to go ahead and say that buyer remorse, and I will type my notes in here. Something to mention about these notes. These notes are mainly for the approver and they will stay in the file, but they are not printed on a document. So these can be something that says, buyer lost job, whatever the case may be. Those are the notes that if you are refunding money, it can sometimes help whoever is your approver so that they know what is the reason you're giving money back. And so if I'm going to refund my money, it tells me here that I gave 40,000 in earnest. They've given this much in options and this much to the price. So I'm first going to give back a portion. I'm going to give back 25,000 of their earnest money deposit. As soon as I hit submit, it's going to let me know that it's been initiated and sent for approval to the manager. So it will sit in the cancellation pending. At this point, we have not sent any documents to the buyers, and that is because we don't want to generate something that shows a refund, have them sign it, and your manager has not approved the refund yet. So at this point, you are not able to send out any documents until your manager approves it. So right now you'll see that the undo cancellation is an option. So if you didn't mean to do that, you can undo it and everything will go back to normal. As you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a section that has the approval history. This will let you know where this particular one stands. So it shows who's it's assigned to, who is the approver, and all of the information about that particular incentive. So if it says submitted and pending, right now I did it and my approver is Shea Apostoltech. Yours would have your manager's name here. So that tells you who it's sitting with. So for example, if it said Brian Beard here, then that would mean it's pending his approval. So I, for purposes of this, am going to approve my own, if I can. And I apologize as I meant to do this as another user because I was also going to show you in case you are the approver. So hang on. I'm going to go ahead and log in as Liz. And this is one nice feature of Salesforce is that I do have the ability to log in as other users. So if you ever are having an instance where you're saying you can't see something or it looks different for you, it's nice for me to be able to log in as somebody else. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel the sale, stick with my same reasons. So now again, cancellation initiated and sent for approval. So when I come down here, as it refreshes, you can see that it's Brian Beard and it's pending. So right now it's sitting in his court waiting for him to approve it. If you are somebody that does the approving, you will receive an email, just as you always had in the past. They will get an email that's asking, and you can respond, either approve or decline. But the other option is when they are in here, on the drop down, there is approval request. When I click on that, it opens up anything that has been assigned. So you'll see the date submitted, and here's the quote that it's related to, so I can get some details on it. And the approver can then approve, reject, or reassign. So if I approve this, I will go ahead and hit the button. If I decline it, it's rejected, and that will, go back and let you know that it's been rejected. And then when you reassign, that would be if, for example, it went to the wrong manager, then they can actually go in and reassign it and send it to somebody else. So I know for a couple people, they work at multiple communities, and we can only set up one approver. So if that's the case, and I say, oh, I'm Brian, and this should really be Steve, then I can reassign it to Steve, and he'll get the email, and he'll be allowed to do that. So for our purposes, I'm going to go ahead and approve it. And then I am going to go back in as Liz. And now you'll see that the status has switched to cancellation approved. If I go down and look at my approval history, it will show that he has approved it. So now I have a new button that is to complete the cancellation. This will allow me to generate my document. Now that it's been approved, because I had a refund only. So in any instance when you're not providing a refund, it will automatically take you to the cancellation document to generate. So now I'm in my cancellation package, and I can go ahead and send this out. And it looks like Liz does not have her DocuSign hooked up in full copy, so it's probably not going to let her send the document. However, once you send out the document, this is another one where as soon as the buyers sign, it will automatically cancel the sale. And that is new for this Salesforce as compared to the previous Salesforce. It was something decided upon by Bert and Janet, that as soon as the buyers sign, we want the cancellation process. So previously you would then have a button that would allow you to kind of agree that it's time to cancel it. And when you hit that button, then it would cancel. Now you do not have any more buttons. As soon as the buyers sign, this changes to canceled, and a spec quote is created. So then obviously the rest of the document will get signed, but it does not have to be fully executed in order for it to be canceled. So in the interest of time, we have two options. I can show you the cancellation without a refund if you'd like, or would you prefer that I move on to the activities and skip over that one? The cancellation without a refund, the main difference is you will simply hit cancel sale. As soon as you do that, it automatically brings you right up to the draw loop package. You send out the document and continue that way. And the same rules apply, that as soon as you have the buyers sign, it will get canceled. And as we talked about with the lot transfer process as well, a spec quote is created as soon as you cancel the lot.
I would vote activities, Amy.
Yep, activities.
Okay. All right. And if you have any special questions on the cancellation process, like I said, I will be happy. I know this is, a different type of training, and it is, for me, it's odd not to be able to see people and read reactions and get questions and if I'm making sense or not. So if follow-up ones are needed for your specific community or your region or whatever it may be, I'm happy to do those. They can be 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever is needed, just to say, hey, we need to go over this. Everybody on the team struggles with it. And we're just lost. Then I don't mind doing that at all. So just let me know. Um, so right now I will go into the activities. Let me just pick a random, actually we'll just do this connection right here. So for the connections, when one of them is first created, when you come in and hit this reg card button, some of these activities are created by default for you. So there are, for example, the writing a thank you note. That is something that automatically is created as soon as the reg card button is hit. There are a few tasks that are automatically created for you. But for everything else, you have the ability to create your own activities within here as well as updating them. There are several different ways in Salesforce to update activities and to create new activities. I'll go over a few of them, and then we will definitely. Sorry, I just saw pop. Do you have a task? There is a task that reminds you to send a thank you note. That does pop up. I believe you're supposed to send it within 3 days. I could be wrong on the timing. It's either 1 day or 3 days. If that's not happening, I will double check because I know that it's happening for homes. And Active Lifestyles does have their own set of activities that are pre-populated because you had a few additional ones. Homes doesn't have some tours
No,
that you guys do.
it's more when we log the task, it's not specifically a thank you note. So like there's no way to differentiate from the other tasks the CR does that it's a thank you note like we used to be able to do.
So on the task type, you do have the ability to, oh, you know what? I
Okay,
apologize.
that's what
I believe that this is one where the production does not match. I just went over this because I'm creating the activities report. And I will mention this now before we go over the activities. So just so this group is aware, I understand the frustration with the activities. Salesforce is supposed to be known for its ability to track your backlog and manage your customers, and the activities and all of that should be much easier to use. I think we have actually kind of hindered ourselves by adding so many different fields that when you try to report off of them, it's a nightmare. So we are looking right now, we have task type, we have task subtype, we have event type, we have appointment type, we have subject lines, we have everything known to man. So I am working on trying to get that cleaned up. And I know that Steve has some reports that he's attempted to do, and I know he's come across the same frustrations. So I literally just had a call this morning to review this and find out, how we can make it better. What do we need to do? So hopefully a lot of that over the next month will get cleaned up. Page layouts will improve as well as the ability to report on what is your team doing. There's a bigger focus on it now more than ever. So I will show you towards the end of this call the activities report that is almost complete and will be available for you on Friday. But in the meantime, as of right now, there are task types and there are the subject lines that enable you to put in. Find it. So this is the one that you'll see that it already creates for you as the reminder to send a handwritten thank you note. And there, if I recall, that is what I was looking at. So we do have a type, and that's why every time I do this demo, unfortunately, I always say, why don't you just select the thank you note type? and we don't have that available for you on this particular screen, which is the same one, but this is our production and this is our soundbox. So it didn't get copied over to match exactly, and we need to have our task types in there. They're important for you guys to be able to record what kind it is. So I will make sure and get that cleaned up. But to make sure that I go over this in enough detail, when we are in a new connection, if you need to log a call, you simply go on the call. It will default the subject to be call. You do have the ability to change the subject if you'd like to. Some of these are the default values because they're used most often. One thing to keep in mind with your subjects is if you are somebody that uses the search bar, if you put things in your subject line that are meaningful, you can search by that and find them. So if, for example, you were to put, call about upcoming wedding and you search the word wedding, it would pull up this particular call. Not that that's something that, you may want to do, but I just want to mention that the stuff that is typed in the subject line is searchable. Anything in the comments is not searchable. So the comments is where you can type what, details of the call so that you have something to reference later on, but those are not searchable. So just something to keep in mind. It automatically defaults the status to completed because it assumes if you're logging the call that you've had the call. And then over here is the result where you can state if you left a message, if you spoke with them, whatever it may be as far as the result. And then when you hit save, it's going to record that call down here. For the task, the same thing applies in that it will give you some of these samples. You can type your own subject in there and you can put a due date. If I put the due date in the future, then it will consider this something I'm going to do later on. As I mentioned, the task type is not currently showing in production. I will make sure that that gets back in there. We'll say this was a thank you note. And in this particular case, I'm not going to update the status because it's due on April 2nd. And then I can type some notes in here. When I hit save, it's automatically going to show up down here in my list of tasks that should be upcoming and overdue. One of the ways you can easily update some of these items is on the right-hand side, there'll be a drop-down. So if you know that all you want to do is change the due date, for example, you don't actually have to click into the task itself. You can come over here, change the date, and I can just update the date really quickly. So there are a few shortcuts on the right-hand side that will allow you to update little pieces of the task. You can also check the box right here to go ahead and say that you completed it, and that will update it without having to open it up and actually update it. You'll see down here that we do have the home update emails. Those are automatically recorded in this section as well. They are done at the account level also, because a lot of these individuals will appear on the account and on the connection as well. If you wanted to see any details about the email, you can open it up and it will just show you the HTML template, but those are ones that are automatically sent out based on construction activities. And we have the new one that goes out at the close of escrow for home essentials. I wanted to mention, in case you didn't see the previous note on this, we have paused all of the construction update emails. So if you notice that you're not seeing these per the request of customer service and online sales team, because some of these mention that, yeah, you'll receive a call to do your frame walk, and we're not able to do frame walks right now. So some of the information in these emails is misleading. So we've paused them temporarily. We will restart them as soon as I'm told that we need to start them again. And then your event, when you put a new event in here, you have the event type. And this is where we've added a couple of new ones for your virtual appointment. If you do one of those, and those are probably going to be your most common right now. When you hit the reg card button, by default, it does create this first visit for you. That was just to save some time. And you are able to go in and edit that first visit and add the note. Same thing when you hit the be back button, it will automatically create an event for you that has the return visit as the event type. So those are the two that are created for you automatically. The rest of these you will select on your own. And as you do that, If you want to use virtual, there we go. The description, the start date, the end date, and basically go through, these are the tours completed. I know that currently these are probably not getting used, but this is similar to the old Salesforce where you could drag over whatever it was that you completed on that particular appointment. And then the appointment status. If it's attended, if it's canceled, if it's no-show, if it's a future appointment, obviously we would just leave that blank for right now. And then when you save, that event will be created. For the emails, it will automatically pull in the individual's email account for whoever is the primary account holder. You can add additional to this if you would like. Enter your subject line, and if you're going to use any of the pre-created templates, there is a button down here that's insert, create, or update template. When you click on that, it will pull up any of the templates that you have access to. The regional marketing team is the one that is responsible for the email template. That is something that was changed when we went to the new system. I know it's caused some frustration, but legal noticed that we had several email templates that were being created where possibly the disclaimer at the bottom was copied from another community and it may have a completely different legal entity, or there was typos, or things that were stated in the email template that were incorrect. So now the email templates are to be created and edited by the regional marketing teams. So that I know has caused some frustration, but there is valid reason for it. We did have some that got sent out that had somebody brought it to our attention. Things were misstated, and we had a grand opening that went out as a GERND opening. So there was definitely some issues, but most of them had to do with the legal concerns about the disclaimers at the bottom. So those templates can be available if your regional marketing coordinator has taken care of that for you. You'll have some in there to use. One of the things that I want to mention is as you save these emails, I didn't type anything, it is also updating your Outlook account if you have linked to your Office 365. I'm fairly certain that 99% of the users have clicked that button that says link to Office 365. If they have not, they should. And I know various users have taken it a step further and gone to use the Salesforce inbox app on either an Outlook or even taken it to a step of using it for the app on their phone. I have the instructions. So far, everybody that I've sent it to has been able to successfully get it in their Outlook account without any issues. In a different call, I will spend more time focusing on that. I wanted to quickly mention it because it is a nice feature that people like to use. So up here, it creates a view button. It is much more reliable than the old Salesforce for Outlook we had. We purchased licenses for people, all of the sales team, all of the designers, so that they will be able to use this. What it does is when you create a new email, it does bring up the information on the side so that you can log that, but it does a lot of other things as well. You can set appointments, and you can use templates. You can create tasks from within this. So let me think of a buyer. I think Melissa has a few in here. No. Oh, there we go. I was hoping that she might actually have a fake account in here, but she only has her. Let me try. I have Barney Rubble. Unfortunately, I picked a bad example, and I'll need to clean up my demo on this. But basically, what it will enable you to do is, if it had a buyer here, you would click on that buyer. Your email will automatically be attached, and it will appear in Salesforce as an email. So it lets you log them. In addition, it allows you to create tasks and also complete tasks. So if I had any tasks that I needed to do, for example, all of these I'm behind on, I can actually update my tasks for the day inside of Outlook without even having to go into Salesforce. And this is the same list of tasks that appears on your homepage when you're in Salesforce. So if you first thing you do when you walk in is look at some of these, and if it says send an email to a person, you can click on it and start sending them emails from here. You can create new tasks for yourself in here. If you read something in an email and they say, hey, make sure to call me on Tuesday and remind me of this, you can create a new task and put it for yourself and attach it to somebody else's account. It also has the ability to send them out scheduled. So if you know that you want to remember somebody's birthday on Thursday, you can set up an email and you can schedule it to go out on Thursday. So it allows you to set up different scheduled ones. You can also track your emails that are sent so you can see when people open them, or if they've opened them. And so there are a lot of different things you can do within this, and you can, unfortunately, because our company uses uses Internet Explorer as our default, unless you have had yours changed to Chrome, which only very few people have been able to get that. When you hit this button, normally it would be nice and it would take you straight to Salesforce and open up their account. But because ours will take us to Internet Explorer, it will not open correctly. So unfortunately, we don't get that one. That's the one feature I wasn't able to get for us to use. But it does allow you to do a lot of tagging of emails and makes the email process a lot easier. And then, as I mentioned, I'll go over it in more detail in another call, but it allows you to set appointments where you can actually give people options and say, are you available for appointment from 11 to 12 or 2 to 3? And once they click on the 2 to 3 slot, then it's smart enough to send out an Outlook invitation to everybody on there, and it records that event in Salesforce as well. So there's a lot of nice features in the inbox, and it's also an app that you can download on your phone. I recently put it on my phone and I use it, and I don't even have any customers. It functions 99% the same as Outlook. So I can use it to send emails to Janet. And if I happen to have a buyer, then when I was using it, it would show me that, hey, here's the buyer's information. Do you want to open their account as well? So there's a lot of nice things that Inbox does that will make lives easier in terms of recording at least emails and certain events. And again, I will send out, prior to our discussion on it, I will make sure to send out the instructions on how to get it on your Outlook account so that every single person on the call will have it prior to me doing the demo so that you can take a look at it. It's really hard to break anything, so you can almost just play around with it and check it out. The other thing, I know I'm moving through this quickly, but I wanted to mention on your homepage as well. Depending on what your homepage looks like, some people have modified theirs and have, a dashboard that pops up or something. But if you don't, you will have the ability on right now to look at your tasks. This is another tool for seeing what you have for the day, what you have that's overdue. You can modify this list and change what appears on this. If you have a special request, I can add additional drop downs. I just went with some basics of overdue, completed in the last 7 days, things like that. And you have the ability to complete your task from right here, or you can open up the task for more detail if needed. Same thing with the events. This also links to your Outlook calendar. So for example, this SQ daily stand up that I'm having right now is on here, and it will link everything from your Outlook account into your events over here as well. And you can open up and view your calendar. So this home page can be a lot more useful. That's another thing that is on the list, but it's a little bit lower on the list, is to modify this page and work with the managers and find out how can we make this more useful so that we have a lot of the key information. I would like to have something on here that just showed, your sales for the week and some of that information as well. But for right now, it does at least show anything you've looked at recently, your events, and your tasks for the day. And then finally, because I know I'm running very short on time, just a sneak peek in regards to activities. The report that is being developed right now, activities per opportunity. it will give you the ability to, at least if I look at active lifestyles, this is our test environment, so I'm not sure. Let's just go with January 6th to January 28th. I may have picked a very long range because there's probably a lot of activities that occurred in 3 weeks. Come on. Or it may just ignore me. I can go the shortcut way. And I'll just show you a quick screenshot of it. This is what it will look like as we're working on developing it still, but basically it's just to show you the individual's name. And then this is a count of the different types of events, the appointments, first visit, return visit, test drive, tour appointment, and then your different tasks. So it has the number of calls, the number of emails. So this is, again, this is in the sandbox right now. It should be in your hands. The goal is by Friday at the latest that it will be in production for everybody to use so that you can kind of see what activities you have. So I know that we owe you a lot more than just that in terms of activity reports, but at least that will hopefully provide, an ability to kind of see what people are doing over the weeks. Oh, now it pops up. So this would be kind of just for you to run for your community for a certain time frame and take a look at what people are doing. And it's meant to be very similar to the APNO report. However, this one is not only for new opportunities. This one will be for all opportunities, and that's mainly because, especially with how we're at right now, with a lot of people doing things virtually, it's just a way to keep an eye on what your team members are doing for a certain week. I know I went 1 minute over, and I really apologize. I think on the next call I will shorten the number of things I try to cover. An hour goes by much faster than I thought. So if there are any questions that you want to ask really quickly, if not, like I said, please send them over to me. And depending on what they are, I'll either answer them on Thursday when we first start the call, if it's easier to demonstrate it, or if there's specific questions on activities, if I didn't cover a thing of what you guys were trying to understand, please let me know. And again, I appreciate you guys jumping on. I will send out this recording as well in case it's useful. But any quick questions anybody has before they jump off?
I'm excited about the thank you note task, and this report looks awesome. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Amy, did you say this report is available now?
No, this is in the sandbox, meaning it's still being, I need to go through and validate that the developer that made this, that these are the correct numbers. I did my first round and it failed, so he did it again, and this one looks better, but I just need to double check so that you don't rely on it and it has bad numbers.
Okay. I did notice one thing on your screen, and maybe it's because it's sandbox, but it jumped out at me because it's something that we've been hoping for. But I noticed when you had the quote page open that there was a line for designer, and then under it there was a line for field manager. Is that an enhancement that's coming, or
Tonight?
Tonight.
So yes, it's I added the field manager on there, and they will also be carbon copied on the construction update emails once those are going out. So yes, you did see that, and you'll see it in the email I sent out tonight. Tuesday nights, so you're aware, every other Tuesday is when we push any changes that have been made in this sandbox to the production environment for everybody. So we test it in here 100 times, and then once it passes, Tuesday nights, they deploy anything for the previous 2 weeks into production. So tonight, there's about probably 20 tickets that are going to get pushed, probably about 5 or 6 of them I'll send in my update that will affect everybody else. But one of them is this field manager field right here. So yes, this will be, you'll see it tomorrow on yours. If you were to go in the sandbox, you would see it today. But this is basically to allow you to add the field managers on here. They will get carbon copied on the construction update emails. And it'll allow for better reporting as well for people that want to know who's the designer, who's the field manager, that kind of information.
Absolutely. Then, and my last question, then I'll shut up. But in the tasks, when you were showing us through Outlook, but both in task or in Outlook, do you know if the field for a recurring task is available? Has that been reactivated, or is it going to be reactivated?
Yes, you can do a reoccurring task. And I'll go over how to do that in the next one because I didn't take time to do that. But there is a way
Okay.
to set up a reoccurring series of tasks. So you can do that. And it will allow it to occur, if you want a phone call every week, it does have that ability in the current system.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that's actually something that I should have in the user guide and everything as well too. So that is a good point. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else with anything real quick? And all right. Well, stay safe, everybody, and thank you for all of your hard work out there. I appreciate it. And if there is anything I can do to help, if you guys need, even if it's just a report that you want for the next month or so, if there is, I've tried to add some fields in the system for tracking different cancellations and different appointments. So anything that you need, let me know. And I will talk to you guys on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.